Hey, Shalom Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shabbarakatam to all of Israel. We'll do a little food for thought, man, today. And we're going to revisit a little bit of this Briana Taylor case because, living out here in Louisville, Kentucky, actually living in the city, you hear, different types of rumblings and you hear different types of things. I remember when everything was going on, man, at the ISUPK under Commander General Yohana, man. Us out here in the Kentucky school, man, we was in the midst of it, man, going out and trying to tell our people that the way that they was reacting to everything wasn't the correct way. It wasn't the correct way. They was basically marching and doing a lot of begging and crying, but the way they was doing it was not correct. It just wasn't correct because it makes a bully happy when those that they bully, cry out and beg for mercy, beg for acceptance, beg for so-called justice, and beg for, all these different type of things that our people have been known over the years to beg for, and being absolutely insane. And what I mean by that, we constantly do it, and we actually act as if we're going to get a different result. Every time that something foul happens to us, we really believe that we could get a different result by marching and by doing all these things that us in the ISUPK under Commander General Yohana, we already know that none of that's going to work. None of that's going to work. It's actually going to backfire because it's going to make those that hate us even that much more excited about, you know, our destruction. You know what I'm saying? Because us being mortal enemies, and I use that mortal enemy, it pleases them to see us punished. To see it pleases them to see us destroyed, to see us, going through it and being destroyed and killed on the street. Our children, our mothers, our fathers. There was a incident where I actually knew the brother, man, where his mother and father was killed in the Kroger out here in Louisville, Kentucky. Where racist white man going there say he was trying to kill up some black folks. This was several years ago, but nonetheless, it's our people, man, being attacked, being killed, and once again being destroyed here in this hell, man. And this is absolutely hell for us. And what I mean by us, that's every black, Hispanic, and Native American Indian, man. So on this food for thought right here, man, I want to go over this sexual abuse, you know, charges and I can't. It's not accusation. These are sexual abuse facts. These are facts because the Louisville Metropolitan Police, they have a history of not only killing black people, but they also have a history of raping and sexually assaulting the women of this community. And they do not discriminate. They do not discriminate. It's always the poor, of course, and the downtrodden. But they have cases against whites. They have cases against blacks. Hispanics and natives out here. They are a sexual assault police force. And with this food for thought series, like I used to do back, several years ago, is I'll watch this video, man, and it's not so much of a raw reaction, but it's to show you something, man. It's actual food for thought. Because in this video, you're going to not only learn about the sexual abuse of the police department, you're going to also learn about the sexual abuse of the convicted officer in the Briana Taylor case. This man has a history, and he has enough history that he had no business even being at that scene to shoot indiscriminately in the window like that. He had no business even being at the scene. So let's get a little food for thought, man, and let's watch the sexual disgustingness of the Louisville Police Department, and then we'll get into how the only officer convicted in the Briana Taylor case. We're going to get to how he shouldn't have even been there, and I'm not saying that she still would not have been killed. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that man had no business being out there on that scene, man. He had no business at all even being on the scene. So my source for this is Vice TV. You know, food for thought. Of course, we're going to give you the source, and we're going to watch the video. And I want you to listen to these women talk about the sexual assault. The first part of this, we're just going to go over the Louisville Metropolitan Police sexual assault charges with a couple of officers. But trust me, they have a long history of it. So let's go ahead and get into the beginning of this
Guilty
video.
to official misconduct for soliciting women he'd arrested for sex in exchange for helping them out with their court cases. And at least 2 more LMPD narcotics officers have been accused of the same thing. One of them made headlines for another controversy.
So, real quickly, let's go over the Briana Taylor one real quick, okay? Because I did cut this video short. So, the sexual assault, a part of it, is so disgusting. And you can just type in Vice, Louisville Metropolitan Police, sexual assault, and this Vice special will come up. And you can watch the whole Vice special. But let's get into this man right here on the screen, man. This man right here on the screen is the officer that just shot indiscriminately into Briana Taylor's apartment. And he was the one that was convicted, not necessarily for shooting at Briana Taylor, but for shooting at, I believe, her white neighbors. So he was convicted of that. But as we will see, he has no business even being on the force. Let's go ahead and rewind this just a little. And I'm going to shut up and let y'all listen to it.
One of them made headlines for another controversy.
Former LMPD officer Brett Hankinson was there the night they executed a no-knock search warrant at Briana Taylor's apartment in March of 2020.
Hankinson, a detective at the time, fired multiple shots into a window.
I was actually sitting here. This picture was on TV, and I just cried, and I was shocked in myself that my emotions were still so strong after that many years.
So this is a witness, and we all know this is a white woman who is a witness and a victim of a sexual assault by this officer. And I want you to see the difference of how they treated these officers compared to how they would treat me if this white girl was sitting in a police station saying that I did the same exact thing.
In 2014, Detective Brett Hankinson raided the hotel room where Brittany McKinney was bringing clients she met on Backpage, a site commonly used for sex work. Officers found drugs and threatened to arrest her.
Brett took me outside on the balcony, and he was like, well, the officers returned 3 people. And then he pretty much brought up like I could hook up with him, and he wouldn't turn the ticket in either.
When you heard that, were you surprised?
No. Once he told me about the pictures on Backpage that he had seen all those, like he knew like the shorts, like shoes, everything. Described pictures that had already been deleted, like for a long time. So at this one, I knew he'd been like watching me for a while, kind of like almost like stalking me. You know, I was an easy target because I was doing Backpage.
So the history of the Louisville Metropolitan, Police Department this is what they do with prostitutes, drug addicts, the poor, women around the West End and Portland area, or any, lower income area around the city, is they will put a case on these women. I don't care if they got to put the drugs on them, and tell them that, hey, if you do this sexual favor for me, I'll hold on to this ticket. I'll hold on to this charge. But if you don't, or you ever stop doing what I want you to do, I have this paperwork and I'm going to take this paperwork down and have these charges filed. So listen, this is an epidemic out here in Louisville, Kentucky that nobody talks about. This officer had no business even being on the force. This was in 2014, as the video said. This man did a raid, found this prostitute, and she's explaining what happened.
Like I would probably easily have sex with him.
McKinney was on probation at the time, and an arrest could have sent her back to jail, so she agreed to be a confidential informant. Hankison wrote her a citation, but didn't turn it in. Instead, he held on to it, in case she failed to hold up her end of the deal.
I mean, in a way, I almost feel like I had to be like nice to him or flirt with him in a way, because I felt like if I completely just disregarded him right off the bat, that he would just turn my ticket in.
What sort of stuff would Hankison say to you over the phone?
Like how he thought I was just sexy, and I felt like he almost thought I would want to have, like, you know, you want to hook up with like an officer, like this was like a prize for me to hook up with like somebody like him. He was very like aggressive and pushy toward me. I didn't like that at all.
How pushy did he get during these interactions?
Before she answers that question, look, these accusations, as you'll see later in the video, she took down to the police. And listen, and I understand that, you know, the queen has died, and for some reason, Black, Hispanic, and Native Indians get so involved in the affairs of our enemies, man. And these people show us over and over and over again that they are, in fact, our enemies, man. They are our enemies. Because anybody knows, I don't give a damn what the black man's name is, he would have been arrested for sexual assault. If he was a police officer, if he was a mayor, if he was whatever, he would have been arrested. But for some reason, man, we can't see how our enemy plots and plans against us constantly, man. Constantly. This man right here in 2014, 2015, 2016 had accusations of sexual assault against him even after the Briana Taylor case, which the video will explain. And the one thing that they do is they want to cover up for this man, because those are the type of men that they want on the force. They want white men that are willing to do the things that they are willing to do to keep us, the slaves, in check, man. They don't want these white men around here, so-called, you know, giving us our constitutional rights and things of that nature, man. They don't want that. The thing that they want is they want this illegal mind state on the street to attack us, because this is a white victim. I can only imagine what would happen if this victim was Black, Hispanic, or Native Indian.
I mean, the last interaction we had, I met him at this warehouse, which I don't really like talking about. It makes me cry, but he was just like really terrible to me.
Almost a month after meeting McKinney, Hankison filed the charges he'd been sitting on. Then, 2 months later, he called McKinney's parole officer to ask why her probation hadn't been revoked. The parole officer confronted McKinney about what was going on, and then reported Hankison to LMPD.
Louisville Metro Police Department Public Integrity Unit official statement. Ms. McKinney, are you aware of this?
Now, real quick, y'all just gonna have to deal with me, because this is what this food for thought is, man. And I gotta calm down, because I get really upset, you know, with these type of things, because our people don't know nothing about this. I can guarantee you, all of the Briana Taylor people who protested for, got our pictures all on the wall, who put a picture all up on Facebook, who did all of these things, didn't realize how deep it was. You know, you heard about the drug dealer and you heard about that stuff. See, what they did is they made the case about her. They put the victim on trial instead of putting the actual man on trial, because all of this should come out. All of this should be a part of his character, man. Now we're gonna watch an interview that the police did. This is an interview that the police did. This is the actual words of the police. Listen carefully.
Interview is being audio recorded.
Yes.
Were you afraid to talk to PIU about what happened?
Yeah. At first, I wasn't going to talk to him just because I was doing like the shady stuff I was doing. And I felt like, you know, they were going to use like what I was doing anyways, like Backpage, and I was on drugs. They could use that against me as well. And I feel like they kind of, you know, looked down on me type of thing anyways.
When McKinney told investigators she was also working with another officer, investigators latched onto it and then used it against her.
We would just ask you something point blank. Are you manipulating both these officers in order to get your charges dismissed or not turned in?
It was terrible. He kind of like belittled me in a way. And some of it he acted like I was making it too. As so I was just so against Brett. If I had sex with the other cop, if that's why I wasn't telling on him.
You're not the special one if these guys are doing this stuff. I don't know. But if you think you're the special one, you better get over it now. Because I can guarantee you what will happen if we go over and talk to both of them. They throw you under the bus so fast and so hard, your head is spinning.
Now, this is how the police are questioning a so-called victim. This is supposed to be a victim. But the police are questioning her as if she's the suspect, as if she's the one that did something wrong. Let's continue, man.
That's exactly what Hankison did when investigators brought him in for an interview 6 months later.
Instantly, I started thinking that, like, she's going to want to try to just get her shit dismissed by fucking me or whatever. And I was like, I don't know if I feel comfortable using her as a CI. Well, Sarge's like, dude, you know as well as I do, these CIs are fucking dime a dozen. They're like, you know, we use them and abuse them anyway, you know, and get what we can out of them. He said, I don't think it's worth getting kind of trick bag or whatever for you to use this girl because obviously she's bad news.
Investigators repeatedly took Hankison at his word, even when his account was directly contradicted by material evidence. Hankison claimed he only ever communicated with McKinney on his work phone, which he voluntarily handed over. And investigators used the records to discredit McKinney, pointing to sexually explicit text she'd sent that Hankison never responded to.
But you were sending him pictures or sending him text. The way I interpret it is you were open for a sexual relationship. Is that not what those texts would indicate to you?
Mm-hmm. But those same records suggest that Hankison was also using another phone to communicate with McKinney.
Now, this is the police catching the Hankison, catching them in the lie. She said he used another phone. He said I only used this phone. The reason why this has to be broke down is you have to realize the evidence that they had against this man, and then ask yourself, what the hell is a man like this even doing on the force, man? Why is this man given the power to patrol and so-called protect the community? And this is public record. This isn't nothing that they sealed. This is easily found. Let's continue.
The last time the two spoke over his work phone was October 10th, 2014. But they both told investigators that they continued talking for weeks. And one of McKinney's texts references a call on October 13th. But there's no record of a missed call on Hankison's work phone. McKinney told investigators that Hankison was using another number, but they never tried to get that phone. And they never really tried to...
Think about this. This food for thought is really... Use this for food for thought. Now, they didn't even try to get the other phone. Now, if you want to know that you have a bad cop on your hand, the PIU are the police that investigate this. It's internal affairs. It's called in other places, but they police the police. Now, it seems to me this is something that the police will want to know. Hey, man, is this man out here policing the community for sexual favors? It seems like to me that they would want to know that. But of course, me in my studies, me being in the ISUPK under Commander General Yohana, I know the truth. This being the home of the truth, we know the truth, we understand the truth, so I know better. Our people are blindly believing that the police are here to protect and serve, and you have all of these rights, and you're protected under this document, and you're able to do all of this. None of that means nothing. This is why you have to have the full armor of the Lord, man. You have to have the protection of the Most High. If you think these police, with the power to change your life, kill your child, plant something on you that will get you locked up for several years, lose your job, destroy your life, with little more, Salakia, with just simply their word. Their word. Now, this woman is showing that he's lied, that they've had, inappropriate, meetings, and this is supposed to be a CSI. When you have a CI, or whatever the hell they call it, confidential informant, the CI. When you have a CI, you're supposed to be documenting the cases and the evidence. You're supposed to take it to your superiors. Hey, man, I got this from my CI that whoop-de-whoop drugs is being sold over here, or this gang war, or there's a hit, whatever the case may be. And this is documented. This man wasn't documenting this. They're going to get to the warehouse that she said she doesn't like to talk about, and they'll get into more of it. Listen to this, man. And don't forget that this is the police who later shot up indiscriminately Briana Taylor's apartment.
To resolve what actually happened at the warehouse.
You never told internal affairs about what happened outside of the warehouse?
I mean, I was kind of told internal affairs a little bit. I told him that he had asked me to meet him there. He asked me to meet him one night in Taylorsville at a warehouse. And I did. I met him there. And he was in a truck. And he pretty much, tried to fuck me. And they kind of just disregarded what I had to say and kind of like blew me off and didn't believe me. Or I'm not sure if they didn't believe me or they just didn't care.
Would you be shocked to learn that she told us that she actually met you at a warehouse while you're off duty?
No.
That wouldn't shock you?
Like I was working off duty?
No, she said she come out, y'all had a conversation, right, and she met you out at a warehouse in Taylorsville near where you lived.
No, that's not true. And yes, that would say it was a lie. I don't believe that. I believe that she told you that, but I've never met her outside of work, period, ever, one time. I don't know where there's any warehouses. Even I don't go to, except to, I might go run in to get, a gallon of milk or something like that. I wouldn't be familiar with a warehouse to even meet at.
Not even making sense.
What did admit is trying to revoke McKinney's parole.
But just in conclusion, I would like to say, I think what he's upset with me about is that I'm the one who called Floyd County Commonwealth Attorney's Office myself. I took it upon myself to call them. This is the only reason I can think about, other than she got her feelings hurt because I wouldn't fuck her, that I've...
Now, I don't know if y'all getting this, man. Check this out. This police went to his CI. Remember, his CI. Went to her parole officer wondering why she's not violated. This is revenge. Who does that? You don't go. If a police officer is doing extra with his CI, why? I mean, what's the point? They done already, filed the charges that he held. And the police knew he held it. Did anybody catch that? They knew he had this ticket that he held and later turned in. So they know that these police are withholding charges from their CI in order to solicit information from them. And if you get into the Briana Taylor case, you'll see how they lied to get the warrant in the first place. So don't feel comfortable, man. Don't feel comfortable in this kingdom, man. Do not feel comfortable in the United States of America, the country that you feel so privileged and safe in. What you don't realize is any given day, any hour, any time, your door could be kicked in and you could be killed. simply because of a mistake or because of some sort of revenge. They don't like the way you live. They don't like the fact that you dress well and your family's doing good. You're a well-to-do black family out here in Kentucky, Klan territory. They can devise any type of plot to destroy you. This is why it's so important for you to get into the ISUPK under Command of General Yohana, man. Because the Lord is the only protection you have. That's it. You can have as many guns as you want to. Trust me, they have more. Your guns is the first line of defense physically. Okay, you can shoot a robber away, a thief, whatever the case may be. But if these animals decide to attack you, man, you're going to absolutely need the Most High, man. And listen, it can be as cliche or as whatever, not as serious or not as important to you. Don't forget, Briana Taylor worked in the medical field. She was a woman that went to work, did her thing, and was enjoying this kingdom, unaware of the dangers of it, because she was not in the truth and had a sense of trust for these people, man, who were secretly plotting against her when she was breaking no law, doing no wrongs. Now, trust me, you can go through all of this other stuff. Oh, she wasn't knowing, she was all of this other stuff. Nothing she did warranted a death sentence, man. Let's finish watching this, man.
Try to get her revoked over in Floyd County, which is true. I did try. I mean, I don't think she was doing a good job on diversion when she's out prostituting on Backpage. So
it never seemed to occur to investigators that this could have been retaliation. And this wasn't even the first time LMPD had received a sexual misconduct complaint against Hankerson. According to a case file from another PIU investigation, in 2008, Hankerson was accused of letting a woman off in exchange for oral sex.
So, like I said, this man has been accused of getting oral sex or trying to get it. This is a pattern with the Louisville Metropolitan Police. But the fact that this is the type of officer that is on the streets out here y'all should run to get into the ISUPK under Command of General Yohana, man. This man has a history of being a bad cop, a history of it, man. But he's on the force. And after that, don't forget, in 2014, he raided a prostitute's room. So after asking for sexual favors, they still allowed him to be on a sex force. He's still dealing with, the sexual crimes of society. But of course, they'll say, oh, ain't no evidence, man. They just saying that or whatever the case may be. Let me tell you something, man. An accusation, especially in this cancel culture, is enough unless you are a Klan-backed police, which we absolutely going to go over. We're going to go over that in the future, man, on Food for Thoughts. And at the end, I'll tell y'all about this great lecture and event we got coming up.
The case was closed without Hankerson or any other officer being interviewed.
McKinney's
case was eventually closed too.
So the case was closed. They didn't even interview him. An accusation that he solicited sex from someone. Okay, if you do this, that, and the other, I won't press charges against you. They didn't even interview him. Wasn't even important enough to interview. Why? Because this is normal. With the Louisville Police Department, this is normal.
PIU concluded that the allegations were proven false. They did recommend that the case be investigated for any potential policy violations related to the handling of CIs.
Yeah, right.
But that never happened.
Of course not.
I definitely blame him, of course, but of course it's bigger than Brett as well, right? I feel like internal affairs kind of, failed me. If maybe they would have taken me seriously or other women, maybe he wouldn't have done it to other women.
Imagine that.
Hankerson was fired for his involvement in the raid that led to Briana Taylor's death. That same year, a woman filed a lawsuit alleging that Hankerson sexually assaulted her after driving her home from a bar where he worked off duty.
After the Briana Taylor thing, and don't forget, they didn't charge him, or Salakia, they didn't fire him until after he was, charged later, on a later note. Because we know that the district attorney, that the so-called black man out here in Kentucky, didn't even press charges against him. It wasn't even a bad thing. They later had to come and get it for the fact that he indiscriminately shot at the neighbors. Nothing to do with Briana Taylor, though. In their eyes, this sexual predator did the right thing at shooting in Briana Taylor's apartment indiscriminately. Let's go ahead and finish this off.
The suit named several LMPD officers for failure to report and intervene sooner. In court filings, Hankerson denied these allegations. Lawyers for LMPD called them defamatory and unsupported. The lawsuit was dismissed and is currently on appeal. When asked for comment on allegations of sexual misconduct, Hankerson pointed out that they'd been investigated by LMPD and closed without findings of wrongdoing.
No, I didn't do it. October 22nd, we'll start with October 21st. We're going to have a camp in downtown Louisville, man. The ISUPK, under Commander General Yohana, will begin a 48-hour assault on white supremacy and Christianity. And the importance of that Friday camp is to let everyone downtown know that there are Black Hispanics and Native Indians that realize the white supremacy through Christianity that is causing the destruction of Black, Hispanic, and Native Indians, not only in the city of Louisville, but that's the region we are in and the region we are going to attack. We are verbally going to attack this city and expose its history of white supremacy used through the Christian church. These Black pastors will be exposed as white supremacists. These Black pastors, let me repeat this, will be exposed as white supremacists. So on Friday, we're going to have camp, October 21st. Stick around for a specific time. October 22nd, that Saturday, we're going to have a lecture that begins at 1 o'clock. That lecture will be dealing with the white supremacy in the Christianity. After that, we're going to have a live podcast of Louisville, of ISUPK Kentucky's podcast, Cry Out Spare Not, man. A heavy, groundbreaking podcast that we have going on out here, where viral videos will be discussed, man, and talked about in a live setting, man. Come get down with us, man. Come get down with ISUPK Kentucky, man. And be a member of this assault against white supremacy. Let your white supremacy go in your Christianity, man. But this food for thought is very, very brief and very, very simple. Why was that police officer on duty the night Briana Taylor was killed? Why was he even there? There were other officers in that case that also had sexual assaults, Salakia, accusations of sexual misconduct on them. What are they doing on the police force? It all has to do with white supremacy, and it all has to do with the pacifier that Christianity gives Black, Hispanic, and Native Indians to not see this as a threat. With that, shalom.